So the speedy recap for episode 10 of the First Home Buyers Show.
It's the First Home Buyers Show, where first home buyers go to watch their wealth grow. And here's your host, Jane Slack-Smith.
What we did is we had a look at the Financial Freedom Framework. Now, the Financial Freedom Framework is made up of 5 segments, and that's around seeing it, creating that vision so you know exactly what the property needs to do for you and how long you want to hold the property. Now, we're not talking 10, 15, 20 years. We're talking 1 to 3 years. Understand right now what you need to be looking for and how and what that property is going to do for you. Then we move on to set it. You need to make sure that you can get a loan. So making sure the loan suits the strategy that you're going to use, and also making sure that you can afford it and seeing how lenders are going to assess you. Now, for instance, you might find that you have a credit hit on your file that is not something that the lenders want. You need to know that ahead of the game. So having an understanding of how much property is going to cost you as well, so that you don't have to eat mince every night, is something that you need to do in this segment, which is set it. And then we move to source it. I love finding properties. I love sharing my knowledge on how people can find properties that are going to go up in value. So it's about understanding the ripple effect. It's about understanding how some suburbs will outperform others based on population growth, based on income growth, based on demand, based on the type of property and the location of the property. So this is always a very exciting thing to look at, and understanding strategically where to buy so that your property goes up in value. And then we move to slam it, and this is about negotiation. Now, in my Trident strategy, I have 3 ways of making money. Negotiation is one of them, buying below the market. You're making money up front. Now, in a fast-moving market, it's not always easy to do this, but it is possible, definitely. So negotiation is absolutely something you need to do. And then you have to have your pest and building inspection done. You have to have your contract reviewed. You need to make sure that you've got everything set up before you sign on the dotted line and you take possession of your first home. And then we talked about stash it. Now, depending on how you are going to use your first home, this could take up different ways. So you might have your first home that you live in for 3 to 5 years, sell it, and then buy your next home. So it's like home hopping. Now, if you do that, then you want to make sure that by the time you come to sell it, you have as much equity or growth in that property. Imagine having $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 more in your bank by being strategic about where you bought your property. You might be a first home buyer that says, you know what, I want to be a home investor. A home investor is someone who buys a home, uses all the grants and all the benefits that they can get to buy strategically in the right area, and depending on the state, they move out within 3, 6, 12 months, depending on the state. And when they move out, they convert it into an investment property. They become a rent investor. They start as a home investor, they become a rent investor. Now, there's some things that you need to do when you do that. You need to get a valuer in, so your capital gains tax is under control. You might want to put a tax variation in, talk to your accountant. You might need to have a quantity surveyor come through so you have all the deductions that you need. You need to have a property manager, and there's property managers that are either traditional bricks and mortar or some of the new startups that actually can do this remotely for you at a cheaper price. So there's all of the things to understand. Now, I also shared my 6th secret segment of the Financial Freedom Framework, and that is supersize it. This is part of my Trident strategy. 3 ways of making money: buying under the market, buying in a good growth area to make more money in the long term, but then also supersizing it with renovation. Now, I talked to you about how to make $2 for every $1 spent in episode 8 of the First Home Buyers Show. It is possible for you, whilst you're living in that property, to boost up the value, but you have to be in not just the right property to do that, but you have to be in the right suburb. And that's about knowing the suburb pricing disparity between unrenovated and renovated properties. So as you can see, in this speedy recap, we covered so many things about the Financial Freedom Framework. It has been an absolute honour and a blessing to be part of this group and sharing with you. I really suggest that you head over to the First House Buyer group in Facebook and join the conversation there, where we're going to continue adding value and sharing all of the tips and tricks that can assist you as a first house buyer. So all the best to everyone. I really appreciate all the time and effort that you guys have put into being part of the First Home Buyers Show, and without further ado, over to the credits.
And that's it for this week's First Home Buyers Show. And Jane will be back next time with more tips, tricks, resources and interviews.
See you then.